So thoughts are just that. They're sounds in our mind. There's nothing else to them. What we do is we get too caught up in the content of our thoughts, what they're saying to us, but they're just sounds in our mind. So the technique that I want to show you is called diffusion. It's about stepping back from our thoughts. We are not our thoughts. Thoughts are part of our experience, and we can observe our thoughts, if you like, yeah?
That's a really interesting concept, that thoughts are not us. Something else, because sometimes people get such bizarre and ridiculous thoughts, and you start to think, oh my gosh, I'm not good in the head, maybe, or like this, I'm really like us, that you start to feel guilty about maybe some thoughts that you could be having as well. So that's really interesting.
Absolutely.
To say that the thoughts aren't you.
Thoughts come and go in our awareness, if that makes sense. What we do is we get caught up in them and we get fixated on them, and then they stay in our forefront of our consciousness. But if we just unhook our awareness, which I'll show you how to do, the thoughts just pass by.
I'll stop talking to you.
No, that's fine. It's all very important stuff, isn't it, to make the point clear. If you could just imagine that on that piece of paper there for a second is a thought that makes you feel anxious. I mean, do you mind sharing one, or can you think of one in your own mind? Maybe the
when I haven't had, it's going to sound really like shallow, but when I haven't had time to do my housework properly, I get very anxious and stressed. Right. So I like a clean house.
Right. So I haven't done my housework. Could be a thought that makes you feel anxious. Absolutely. So when we have that thought, we do two things to it usually. We either fuse with it, we get caught up with it. We go, I haven't done my housework. That's terrible. That means I'm a bad housewife. I've done a terrible thing. Well, my house is a mess. Everyone's going to laugh at me. All this kind of stuff. We get caught up with it, or we try and push it away. We try and go, well, actually, it's not that messy. We try and challenge it with a positive thought, or we try and distract ourselves. Yeah.
I do the first one.
Yes, indeed. So just imagine that I represent all that's important to you in your life. Yeah, like getting on with the rest of your day and doing all the things, yeah? Now hold that piece of paper up with the thought on it, and hold it as close as you can to your face and get all fused up with it in front of your eyes.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah. And how connected to me do you feel now? All that's important in your life.
I can't see.
Not at all, absolutely.
Not at all.
So you're not connected as you're caught up with that thought. Now if you can push that piece of paper out as far as you can in front of you, that's it, tension, and pushing it away with all that tension, with all your might, trying to get rid of it, don't want to think it, I'm not that bad. And how connected to you are you with me now?
I can see you now.
Yes.
I can see, but I feel more connected to you because this isn't right in my face anymore.
But you're still preoccupied with it,
I can still see it.
And your energy's all in it and all that kind of stuff. Now just pop that under your arm. Hey.
Hi.
So you're not you can see me, and you're connected to me. Can you see? You're not struggling with that anymore.
No.
You're not struggling with it. You're not trying to change it, challenge it, make it positive. You're not pushing it away or anything. You can just keep it with you. This is very different to what we usually do, trying to think positively all the time. It's with you in your awareness, but you don't have to focus on it.
And it's not stressing me out as it was
absolutely.
before. Right, okay.
So we can just take a look at the next image quickly, and moving through this quite fast. These are some metaphors that really help us understand what we're trying to do when we're diffusing from our thoughts. So we can imagine our thoughts a bit like the TV that's on in the background as we get on and do some other more important task, like cleaning the house, for instance. There you go. Yes. So it's we can hear the noise, but we're not listening to the content. Can you see? Similarly, just going to another one of these, we can imagine that we're a bus driver of a school bus, driving a load of noisy kids to school, and all the kids are in the background hurling abuse at us, saying, you don't know where you're going, you're going to get us there the wrong way, you're going the wrong way, all this kind of stuff. What we want to do instinctively is put our foot on the brake, turn around and say, I know where I'm going, shut up. But then we just add fuel to the fire and we start arguing with our thoughts. Can you see? Or we can just allow them to be there. Not push them out. I can hear them, but I'm not listening to the content of what they're saying, and just keep focused on where we're going.
So you're saying, don't have a conversation with them, basically.
Absolutely.
So don't pay them any attention.
Absolutely. We can bring our attention away, but can you see we're not moving the thought away. We're just bringing our attention away from it. Yeah. Here's some techniques to do that.
Okay.
Okay. Then we can just bring up the next slide. So what I'd like you to do is think of your thoughts again. So what was it?
Housework.
And I haven't done the housework.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. What I want you to do, and not to get you too upset, but I just want you to really start thinking that now, and really notice the emotional impact.
Should I look at you or the paper?
No, just leave the paper.
Okay,
I'm not doing that anymore. Just imagine that thought. Keep playing it over in your mind. Really buy into it. I haven't done the housework. And just to feel the anxiety as it can rise. Just do that for a second.
I'm getting angry.
Yeah, a bit angry, a bit anxious, a bit frustrated. Okay. Now I just want you to add a few words before that thought, so a prefix if you like, which is, I am having the thought that I haven't done the housework. Right. Just repeat that and notice what difference that has for you in terms of the emotional impact. I'm having the thought that.
I'm having the thought that I haven't done my housework.
What difference does that have?
It's alleviated it.
It's alleviated some of it, yeah? There's some distance maybe between you and that thought. Can you see? You're no longer caught up in the autopilot, I haven't done my housework, but now you're stepping outside of it and noticing, a thought in my mind, which is a different experience. You can't do your thought and notice it at the same time. You see?
So you mean, yeah.
We may also just repeat our thoughts rapidly, like, I haven't done the housework, I haven't done the housework, I haven't done that. It just becomes a sound.
Makes it, yeah, okay.
It just becomes a sound because that's all our thought ever was. It's just a sound in our mind. And so we wake up, if you like, to this moment of reality and say, I'm sitting here right now allowing a sound to determine my reality. You know, that's all a thought ever was. This is all based on principles of mindfulness, which is about paying attention to our experience in any given moment, the thoughts in our mind, the bodily sensations we have, or the emotions and our behaviours in an accepting way, just noticing it for what it is, rather than trying to change it up in some way.
Okay. But eventually I do have to go home and do my housework.
Yes, you do.
So maybe there's some like technique. Like, for example, okay, I understand what you're saying. It's really good. So you don't sort of get anxious, don't get worked up. But then obviously you do have to deal with certain situations as well, right?
Yes. But you may be more able to deal with certain situations when you're not anxious.
Actually, that actually reminds me of something, because I remember not so long ago I had some extra responsibilities. And like, because it just seemed so much, I really started to panic. And there was actually a time I managed to kind of overcome that part where when I used to get really overloaded with work, there would be a time when I would just break down crying. I said, I can't take it anymore, I've got too much to do, I can't do it. And then that would wear off. But then it would kind of happen quite often when I got really stressed. But then I managed to control that. But then I still felt quite panicky when I got these extra responsibilities. I was like, oh my God, it's too much for me, I can't do it. And I noticed that as soon as I was in that panicky mode, I could not think straight at all. And it was only when I said, okay, pull yourself together, Chris, just sit down, write down everything that you have to do and just organise yourself. And as soon as I did that, I was okay. I actually saw it wasn't as bad as I thought, that it actually, although it was a lot to do and it's still a lot to do, but I can manage it if I don't panic and I don't get stressed and I just sit down and I think and I don't act, with all that emotion, then I can actually deal with it.
It's going back to that principle of, challenging. I thought, well, I have housework to do, so what am I supposed to do about it? But, that's fair enough, but it's just not helpful to keep worrying about it, because you get anxious and that gets in the way of you actually doing what's meaningful for you, like your housework. So it's about managing your anxiety first and then opening up a whole arena of space for you to get on with what's important for you, whether that's your housework or not. But when you're anxious, you can't get on with stuff. You're doing anxiety.
Are there any like practical things that people can do as well? Because I've got a bit more time left. Got a few minutes, like in the sense of, I don't know, like physical activity, anything like that? What else can help?
Absolutely. Behaviourally, there's lots of things that we can do to help ourselves. Exercise is a really positive behaviour to help us moderate some of the adrenaline rush that we get with anxiety, to release some of that muscular tension. And of course, when we're doing exercise, we notice that we're getting fitter. We might be losing weight as well if we're concerned about our weight. So it's a real confidence booster, can you see, and hitting the real problem at the core there. So working on our confidence and self-esteem. It's about relaxation as well, and breathing techniques, of course, and there's some great breathing schedules out there that people can look up on the internet, breathing from the diaphragm and so forth. But also putting time for you first, if that makes sense. So looking after yourself and doing what you find valuable in life. We know
we forget to do that, don't we?
We too much.
We get too
absolutely.
like workaholics, and like we don't make time for ourselves.
And we're too focused on achievement in life. I need to get the perfect job, the perfect relationship, all the money in the bank, all this kind of stuff. But that doesn't give us well-being in life. We know in psychology, it's more about our values, about what sort of person we want to be. So even as I need a relationship to be happy, we say to people in therapy, what is it about a relationship that will make you happy? Well, is it that you'll be a caring or loving partner, or are you being supportive? Oh, those are the things I like. Well, then you can do them now. You don't need a relationship to be happy. You can be caring and supportive with your loved ones, other people around, your friends.
Because I think you're happier when you're in a relationship.
Well, maybe.
I'm not saying you can't be happy, but I think you are happier.
Well, maybe for some people. But there's no such thing as the perfect. And until we get that thing, we're just anxious or depressed until we get it. Can you see? So we need to start to understand that we need to move in line with our values, what's important to us in life, and that brings a tremendous sense of well-being. Looking after ourselves, and anxiety dissipates as a consequence.
Okay. And how about, say, for example, if you see a family member that is quite anxious and maybe they don't want to go for counselling, they think they're okay and everything. How do you think we can help like a family member out?
It's really important to normalise the experience and to sit with them in an accepting way. So none of this, come on, you'll be all right, or snap out of it. It's not the end of the world. Doesn't happen at all. That used to really annoy me because my boyfriend, my now husband, my boyfriend at the time always used to say, "Oh, just snap out of it. It's nothing. Why? So what?" And it used to infuriate me. I used to get really angry because it's like no one knows what it actually feels like, and it's not like you can just kind of
wave a magic wand and it will just go, because it's horrible when you're going through it, and people don't understand sometimes.
Indeed. You know, loved ones come from a supportive place when they do that. They're trying to help us, but they don't say that it actually makes the problem worse. So it's more about empathy, which is basically about putting yourself in someone else's shoes. So, you know, being curious is to be empathic. Just ask questions. What's it like for you? How do you feel when you think that way? When you feel that way, what are you thinking? What's most difficult? Just keep asking questions of the loved one that is anxious, and that will be helpful.
That might actually make them see, well, it's not actually that bad as what they were thinking if they actually talk about it.
It might have some shift in the way they're thinking about things, but it will just let them feel more settled and understood, and more acceptable, which is all connected to our confidence. Can you say about self-acceptance and others accept me? Because as soon as we say, come on, it's not that bad, people are basically saying, don't feel that, it's wrong. You know, and then it's like, what's wrong with me then? You know, so it starts fueling the vicious underconfidence cycle.
I understand. Okay, so if people are going through it watching now, and they you know, they realise they do need help, obviously you've got your organisation that can help people. They can go to other people as well. You don't have to go through it alone. And I think, as I keep saying on the show, sometimes people, it feels worse for some people because they think, oh, I'm the only one that's going through it. I'm the only weird. They think they're weird. They think there's something wrong with them.
Yes.
But everyone gets stressed about different things. So.
Absolutely. I'd encourage people to open up to a friend, a family member, a work colleague, to let them know. And you'll be surprised that they'll probably say, I feel the same a lot of the time as well. But certainly to speak to your GP if things are getting particularly bad for you. Definitely. And your GP can refer you on to a specialist. And there's medication out there, but I wouldn't advocate that without some self-help, maybe in the form of reading or certainly psychological therapy or treatment along
Dr. Michael, thank you so much for all the lovely advice.
You're more than welcome.
And I'm sure we've helped a lot of viewers tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.